last quality, the 11th quality of the 20 qualities of a jnani, absence of egoism. Egoism arises primarily when one lays his focus or attention on himself. Rather, as we said, ego is when you glorify yourself, exaggerated glorification of oneself. Ego is to boost your own individuality, the I and the my. So the whole spiritual process is about liquidating, diluting, annihilating your ego. So in every action, if I am able to identify with a larger cause, a greater factor, identify with a totality, identify with the ultimate, which is the Atman, the Brahman, to the extent you identify with the totality, to that extent the focus and attention on the individual gets liquidated. So when I understand that I am just a spoke in the orchestra of life, I am just a mere instrument, I am a player in the scheme of things. So if I understand myself as a person playing a role, if I understand myself as one among those who are playing various roles, to that extent your role gets diluted, liquidated. Ultimately, when you understand that the Atman is the non-doer. See, the ego comes only when you are identifying with the non-Atman. The Jiva means the individual. The individuality is Anatma, non-Atma. So the Atma has no ego. Atman is non-doer. So when you don't identify with the Atman, the ego is born. So the Anatma nature creates the ego. The Anatma nature creates the individuality. So the spiritual realization is to realize that I am not the doer. So the Atman, even though it does everything, it is not the doer. So there is no doership attitude, there is no enjoyership attitude, there is no possessive attitude. That I factor becomes lesser and lesser to a point where it becomes totally insignificant and it's not there. So a true jnani has no ego at all. So the sadhana is to identify with something higher. So to that extent, the individual ego gets deflated. It's liquidating it. In other sections of the Gita, he says, not much pride, he says. Comparison to ego, he says, not much pride. Means, why it says not much pride? Because individuality itself is ego. The fact that I have separated myself from Brahman, the fact that I am separated from the totality itself, I have an ego. I have not realized myself, you have not realized yourself. The fact that we have separated from the totality, we have no ego. Now above that we have, I have achieved so and so, this is my status, this is me. So you are adding further ego to the already existing ego. Therefore he says not much pride, because individuality itself is ego. Above that we are having further ego. So either you take it philosophically or literally. There is no ego at all. Literally is, oh, he's a very egoistic person. Philosophically, the fact that you are not realized you are having ego. So either way, a jnani, either philosophically or literally, has no notion of I and my. That was the last that we covered. Now, the 12th quality, which is the last quality in the 9th verse, he says, Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha, Doshanu, Darshanam. The translation is perception of pain and evil, of birth, death, old age, and disease. So the quality is perception of, he mentions the 5 changes: birth, disease, old age, and death. He says the perception, he sees all these 4 as, how does he see? Pain and evil. So the 5 metamorphic changes, the Shastras are giving 4, but you can take them as 5. The 5 changes that we go through is birth, growth is missing. Birth, growth, disease, decay, and death. These are the 5 changes every living being goes through. So this verse mentions 4, but you can take it as 5. Now, what is the mantra's perspective? What is the pratipaksha bhavana we should have to these qualities? I'm sure you know what pratipaksha bhavana means. I'm sure some of you have heard. I don't think Hina had heard it before. Hina, there is this quality called, when we did the text Bhajagovindam, it is said there. It is called pratipaksha bhavana. Prati, P-R-A-T-I, P-R-A-T-I, P-A-K-S-H-A, pratipaksha bhavana, B-H-A-V-A-N-A, pratipaksha bhavana. Now, what is pratipaksha bhavana? Pratipaksha bhavana is you re-educate yourself through an intellectual re-evaluation. You're re-educating yourself through an intellectual re-evaluation so that you see the world from a different angle. Get it, sir? Pratipaksha bhavana is to re-educate yourself by re-evaluating so that you look at the world from a different angle. Now, how does a layman look at life? Life has got birth, growth, disease, decay, death. What is the layman's perspective of these 5 of life? Layman's perspective. How does a layman look at this? And then we will see how does a spiritual man look at it. Life, the 5 factors: birth, growth, disease, decay, death. How does a lay person look at it? As a reality, how does a lay see? We are re-evaluating to look at life differently, right? It's like, let's say I've written an exam and I've got very less marks. The board sometimes gives you opportunity for re-evaluation. You submit the paper again for re-evaluation. Somebody else will review the same paper, not that person who invigilated or who assessed your paper. So the same thing is being re-evaluated. So our life, which consists of birth, growth, disease, decay, death, is being re-evaluated. That process of re-evaluating is known as Pratipaksha Bhavana. So before I see the Pratipaksha Bhavana, I want to know what is my evaluation of these five. So the question is, what is a layman's perspective of birth, growth, disease, decay, death? How does a layman look at it? Mike, can you pass the mic to us? Mic. Hold on to the mic with you there.
It's okay, Guruji. Like birth, it is looked at with pleasure.
Birth is pleasure.
Pleasure.
Okay.
Growth, some stages of growth is a pleasure.
Some stages pleasure. Okay. Then
the disease, of course, it causes. It causes a lot of
pain, dukkha, pain,
decay also,
pain,
death also. Death to maximum.
For whom?
For the people around, for the family. For the jiva, it doesn't matter at all. It doesn't matter.
The thought of death is very paranoid.
Yeah, the thought of death is very.
Death, am I going to die? My God.
Correct.
That is very difficult to accept.
Yes. So
every year you must say that much of part of my life is gone. So they are celebrating as if I'm marching towards death. If every year I'm celebrating birthday, means I must not celebrate, I must start mourning because I'm going closer to death, I don't know why I'm celebrating. Correct? Ulta ellame, what we do is ulta only. Ulta is opposite.
True.
But we call gathering and say celebration for what? I'm going to die that sooner, yeah. Is that what you're celebrating? So, right, birth is a celebration from a layman's perspective. Growth, certain aspects of growth, not necessary. I agree with you. I'm only trying to, it's not only your perspective, you're taking a layman's perspective.
Yeah.
The layman believes that there is a certain aspect of growth is enjoyable, and later three are not necessarily a phase of celebration.
Yeah. Yes, Guruji.
Now, what is the Pratipaksha Bhavana to this? What is the verse saying? How did you write the quality, the verse, the quality, the 12th quality? What did you write down?
Re-evaluation. First quality is birth, Guruji.
What is the quality name? The 12th, what is the 12th quality?
Is it?
Ramji, can you read from the thing? A sheet? Can you read from the sheet?
Distraction is the point.
No. Can you share the thing? The slide again. The slide, verse 9. Verse 9 of chapter 13. The concluding part of verse 9 gives the quality, Ramji. See, if you have attuned yourself to the text and settled down, then you'll start seeing the message otherwise when you're mentally not settled, you don't know what's going on. It's a very delicate art of extracting that message. So the verse, the last bit, Ramji.
Absence of egoism.
Sir, what is the quality that we are studying? The Sanskrit part, Chadavandi. No, next second line of verse 9. Mike, please.
Janmam mrityu jara vyadhi dukkha dosha anudarshanam.
What is the thing? Which is Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi, Dukkha and Dosha. Darshanam is perception. The perception of birth, death, old age and disease are looked at as dukkha and dosha. The door closed. No, close the door. Echo word. So the volume kami panlama in the volume and on the mic also. So you look at it. He says these two qualities are as dukkha and dosha. Dukkha as evil, sorry, as pain. Dosha as evil. So a spiritual master looks at every aspect of life as pain and evil. That's all it is. Now you have to justify. So the mic off panunga sir. Is that mic off? అక్కడ పక్కన పెట్టాను మీరు పక్కన పెట్టుకోండి. So how does he say that is the point to examine. Birth, is the process of birth a pleasure, be it for the mother or the child? So much of the process of going through labor is a laborious pain. Journey is a painful exercise. The child, the moment the child is born, the process of birth is so much of pain. The fact that the umbilical cord is cut away, the child has to start becoming independent. The moment the child is born, you're separated from the mother. That process of birth, sometimes it's such a painful exercise. Some kids don't cry, they don't breathe, and the way the doctors, how they trying to bring back life to that newborn, they are literally beating the child, stretching every possible limb and muscle, just trying to give that breath. The child has to cry. So the birth is not a pleasure by any means, right? You agree? Birth is a pain. Now we must justify. How does the text say these 5 phases of life as pain and evil? Now let's analyze the second aspect which is not mentioned, which is growth. How is growth a pain? You are well established and you want to grow to a higher level. What is required? Whether be it business, whether be it your wisdom, whether be it anything that you're doing, you want to grow to a higher level. What does it require? Tina, if I can ask you. Everything in life, you are at a certain level, right?
Namaskaram, Guruji. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Yes.
Growth is always requiring some form of pain because it's something new that you have to encounter. So there's always some resistance.
There is a resistance to learning something new. People don't accept or embrace something new because you have to shed your knowing and you have to embrace new learning. And that process of growth, there is effort required. You have to shed your tamas. Tamas is lethargy. Tamas is also rigidity. I don't want to change that kind of notion of knowing. So to learn something new, to come out of your comfort zone, to advance from where you are, to grow higher, it requires effort. And effort is painful. As they say, as you're growing older, you need, what supports your skeleton are the muscle. And if you don't strengthen the muscle can't hold the skeleton. The skeleton has no shape. What gives shape to the body is the muscle. And as you start growing older, the muscle becomes weaker. So they say it is essential after a certain age, once you hit your mid-40s, you must start exercising, strengthening the muscle so that it will help you in the later half of your journey. But to strengthen the muscle is such a pain. To take that weights or to go through the gym or to go through some kind of a regime or to stretch your, to do yoga. It is going to give you benefit, but that growth is pain. Agree? Knowledge, you want to grow to higher knowledge. You have to put in effort. If you don't put in effort, you can't gain your intellectual knowledge, you can't grow. So growth also is pain. Next come decay. Decay also is painful. How is decay painful? Sureshji, how do you explain decay, Sureshji? Decay is different to disease. Sureshji.
But the verse is not using the word decay.
Verse is using the word decay. The verse is not using the word. The verse is not using the word decay.
Perception of pain and evil. Rather, it is absence of egoism. Perception of pain.
Ego is separate quality. Ego is the 11th quality.
Okay.
Decay.
I was thinking absence of egoism, absence of perception of pain and evil of birth. Oh.
Are they different qualities?
So absence is only for egoism.
Absence of egoism.
Okay.
Perception of pain and evil into these 5 changes. Okay. They mentioned 4, but the 5 rest. You take it totally. You can take decaying or the process of old age. Old age and decaying are the same. Right? So the process of decaying or getting old, is it a pleasure, sir? Where your senses are losing their vitality. Your mind and intellect also is waning away. Is that process of decaying a pleasure or
Definitely not a pleasure.
Certainly not a pleasure. So we are able to justify that birth is pain, growth is pain, growing old or decaying is pain, to be diseased, definitely pain. There's another name for suffering and disease is pain. Death. The thought of death, as we say, it causes a lot of restlessness. You become very insecure. The fact that you're going to die. I'm sure none of us have experienced that thought of death. But when you're getting closer to that moment of death, when you're aware of that death, we don't know what that emotion of fear is. So none of these phases of life, there is anything worth getting. There is no joy associated with it. So when you look at life as he says, as it is nothing but pain and evil, what would you do? When you look at life of all these 3 phases, what would you do? How would a jnani look at this? A jnani looks at all of this. When you look at life and life goes through these phases, you objectively, a man of wisdom, a jnani, objectively looks himself going through these phases and gets unaffected by them. So that capacity to remain a witness to you being subjected through these phases. So you only when you get attached to suffer, he doesn't get attached to it. He understands them as a fact of life, and he observes himself silently going through this, and he rises above them. It's a very subtle quality, very fine quality. I may be going through disease, but I'm objective to it. I may be going through age, I'm objective. I don't get affected by it. So that this quality is being a witness to a change I am being subjected to. See, now I understand I am a witness to you because you are a little distance from me, and you are a witness to me because I am a distance to you. I can practice that being a witness to something external. Now, can I practice the same quality of being a witness to myself? And this quality talks of it. Yes, ma? Adagandi. Evil because anything that causes agitation is evil. Sin. Evil means sinful. None of these phases of life cause you any joy or happiness. It's all associated with mental agitation. That's an evil. Pain is some phase because it's dealing to the physical body. There is pain. Mentally, it causes agitation. That's the reason he calls it as evil. Dosha. But do we look at life like this? We don't have the pratipaksha bhavana to life. After this, would you be interested in next janma? Just for thought. If from the time I'm born till I hit the bucket is only different levels and grades of sorrow and suffering, would you be interested to celebrate next birth? Would you be interested in the birth at all? Man, I don't want to be subjected to this bondage of birth and death again. So there is a certain amount of vairagya you must develop for the whole process of. Sometimes when I look at a parent dealing with a small child, I said, my God, what amount of obligation the parent have got for the child until the child grows up to bear with all the series of mistakes again and again, different kinds of mistakes the child is performing. So much of patience the parent must have, and what commitment. Adigane vandappa. I don't want that kind of bondage. So do we look at life in that sense? Only when you look at life as because you will not embrace pain. You must be a fool to embrace pain and evil. But a layman doesn't look at it as pain and evil. Therefore, he's embracing these phases of life, not realizing what he's going through. And why he's not realizing? Because he's acclimatized to pain and suffering. Only when you become a witness, you see the reality of it. A slum dweller doesn't realize the filth and stench of a life in a slum. Only when you and I walk into a slum, you realize the disparity from what life you are living to the life of a slum. That disparity, you can see them, what they're going through. But one who resides in the slum doesn't see the disparity, doesn't see the stench and filth of the slum. So a spiritual man, when he looks into our lives, he looks at our life full of pain and evil. But we so caught up in life don't see life that way until we are brought to realization, man, this is what life is. Do you see it? And that's the reason we gain pratipaksha bhavana, to look at our lives from their standpoint. Not easy. Not easy at all, but it's a factual presentation of what every phase of our life is. So you will not unnecessarily develop attachment. Correct? Huh? Would you want to be attached to disease, ma? No disease. Even if we have to go through cataract surgery, you will say, I don't want to go through cataract. Let me delay it as long as I want, as long as I can. Correct? Huh? Somebody was just now telling me. Why? We go through pain, no? Some kind of pain. So why do you develop attachment to life and its phases of life? Because of avidya, because of ignorance of pain and dosha, dukkha and dosha. So would you mind switching off the mic? Yes, thanks. So look, the language choice of words is dukkha and dosha. Very nice words, huh? But the problem is we don't associate with life. He is saying, please associate it with. So dukkha dosha darshanam of janma and so on. Okay. Prakash Raguru, following, sir. Verse 10. 1 minute. Yes, Harish.
Guruji, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Guruji, isn't pain for us a blessing in a way that it forces us to recalibrate our entire thinking patterns and behavior patterns and life choices? Because when we were in the ignorant stages, we were, I would say for me, I was maybe reckless, not as thoughtful, not as mindful. But with the pain that's come my way, it has made me go inward and to reanalyze everything backward so that I don't go forward with the same repetition. So isn't that also a blessing that it has come into my path, Guruji, in the perspective of this?
I don't know whether you're talking in the same language, because when you say, I'm just quoting you, but not as an example, but you say that when you say, I have had pain, maybe you are referring to a certain experience. But here, when the text is saying pain, he says every aspect of life is nothing but pain. What you're talking is when someone is subjected through knocks and shocks of life, that process of knocks and shocks of life, one starts questioning, why me? What am I doing wrong to go through this phase? That knocks and shocks, or the pain as you are describing, is a process of making you introverted. That is different to what is being said here.
Yes, I was referring to the other part that you just
Correct.
spoke, Guruji.
You're talking of the other. I could get that.
Yes.
But if I may just mention, Harish, I know every one of us have some kind of a niggle with our body, with our personality. I know you have been having these issues of,
Shoulder.
what do you call that?
Twitches.
Sorry? Twitches.
Twitches and ticks on the shoulder, yes.
Sureshji doesn't get what you're saying. What is twitches? Twitches is a shoulder.
It's like an involuntary muscle movement that I have no control over, that my shoulder sometimes is.
He's trying to ask something here.
Can you spell it, sir? If you can spell that word.
TWITCHES.
TWI,
TCHES.
TWITCHES,
C,
witches,
yeah, or TICS, TICS. You can use it either.
either. And what happens there?
There is an involuntary muscle movement that the shoulder shakes and I have no control over it.
There's an involuntary movement where muscle movement where you have no control over the shoulders. So he just, if you keep noticing him, I know that, but he keeps doing this. So there's no control. It's an involuntary muscle. Something is not right. Now I know, as a matter of fact, Harish, sorry to have brought it up, but I know your physical level at this phase of your life, you're going through that pain. It's been bothering you for X number of months or a year or so. Now,
Yes.
when you go through the pain of the physical body, it's a sign of old age and decay, which you didn't have in your prime youth or in your teenage days, in your younger days, you did not have them. Now it's coming, sign of disease and old age. So decay and old age. He's saying, when you understand that the body is going through pain and evil, you will develop a sense of detachment to the body. You will not bind yourself. You will not worship. You will not indulge in the body worship. Because it is pain, man. Why would I want to go through that? You will say, let me go through it silently, objectively, saying, I have got nothing to do with this. See, detachment is to say, I am not that. Is it not?
Yes.
Attachment is, I am that. So when you are attached to something, you're binding yourself to it. But when you look at the body and life as such as going through these phases, you will go through the life, but with an understanding, I have got nothing to do with this. I am, therefore, you will conclude with the saying, I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am not the intellect. I am the Atman. I am that pure self. You will disassociate with the lower to associate with the higher. That process gets expedited. The process gets into an overdrive. When you understand it is all pain and evil, why would I want to celebrate? Why would I want to associate with pain? If somebody is causing nuisance in your life, will you associate with that person? Man, I don't want to have a sight of you, please. You and your personality be with you what you are. I can't change you. You are like that. Be like that. If you think you are right and the world is wrong, if that's what attitude, you be in your world. I don't want to associate with you because you are a pain in my neck. I don't want to associate. Thank you very much. So that's our attitude to anything that causes pain. But when I look at my personality as an embodiment of dukkha and dosha, you will but remain detached. You will have no choice but to be objective and say, yes, I have no choice. This is what I am. Let me go through it in a very silent witness. Let it pass through. I have got nothing to do with it. Okay, growth is, I'm going through the phase of growth. Wisdom tooth comes, such a pain it is. I don't know why wisdom they call it, pain only. Why wisdom tooth, why they call it, I don't know. But that the extra growth of that tooth is such a pain. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't walk, you can't talk, nothing you can do. Every phase of life is like that. So does it answer your question, Harish? So what you are referring to and what the verse, the 12th quality, the verse is talking are two different things.
I understand, Guruji. Thank you for clarifying this.
Most welcome.
In fact, this
Yes, sir.
This total non-identification with the body was something which I think the life of Sri Ramana Maharshi exemplifies.
Yeah.
As he aged, a lump appeared on his arm, a red lump. He was totally oblivious to it. And he used to say, this body itself is a disease. Why are you attaching so much importance to this body? They say, it is something cancerous and all that, but I don't feel any pain at all. A total absence of identification with the body. He said it looks like the Samantaka gem, doesn't it? He used to say that way. And the devotees used to say, you must be in so much pain. And I don't know. I only feel something like an itch. In the most acute of pain, he used to say, it's something like an itch, that's all. So
maybe Haresh is saying twitch, close to that.
So that kind of disassociation with the body, that I am the unchanging spirit, unchanging self in the different phases of pleasure and pain in life.
In fact, that statement that I am not the body is so beautifully highlighted through his life. Not that. And then the language also he used, as you know, the story goes, the procedure had to be done. And the procedure happened apparently without any anesthesia, without any local anesthesia, the surgery happened. And after the surgery, the students asked, did you not feel the pain? To which he said, it suffered. It refers to the body. The body felt the pain, but I did not feel the pain. I am not the body. So at least temporarily, also at least you say, my body is sick. I am not sick.
In fact, Guruji, at the age of 16, in his uncle's home, when he became one with the self, one with Arunachala, his brother gives him 6 rupees. We are in uncle's home. Don't be so lazy. What are you doing? Meditation. Please at least go and pay my college fees today, the brother says. And then that day he looks at an old map in his uncle's house, and it says there is this particular train which takes you to Arunachala. And he also thinks, yes, I should not be a burden to my uncle. And he leaves a note. In that note, he writes, in response to the call of the master, this is going in search of him. None need come in search of this. Your college fee is not paid. 3 rupees are taken for expenses. Note is not signed. The I was annihilated when he wrote that note. Where is the body? Where is the identification?
Almost is jarring. It sounds so jarring to us.
And when he goes to Arunachala, he is meditating at the entrance, the Ganapati temple, weeks and weeks together. Children think it's a statue and they throw stones, oblivious to that. Then there is a good Samaritan called Rajan. He takes him underground so that these boys don't throw stones. And in that underground, he sits there. There he is meditating for months together. The hair grows. All kinds of insects are crawling on him. And then after 2 or 3 months, somebody comes, what has happened to this person? And then they bring him out and they make a mango grove where he is settled after being thoroughly cleaned. Such was his tapas.
Sir, the great Ramana did tapas and he realized himself. You and I also must do the same tapas to realize ourselves. It's our birthright.
Maybe 1% of him we can try.
Oh, maybe 1%, 10% panlame. See, the fact that they led a journey to realization of self, which is very much our birthright. Just because he is detached to the body doesn't mean I cannot be detached. So these men should be examples, inspiration for us to lead a life where I also should be detached. So that statement to keep remembering, I am not this, I am that. Negate and assert. Negate and assert. That is sadhana. Sadhana is negation of the lower, assertion of the higher. That churning process. So this quality gives that insight into that which you are asserting should be negated. When it's not worth, everything is nothing but dosha and dukkha, is only pain and evil. What are you associating with? Get rid of it. The next moment they address you as the body. The next second, they don't say, has Vinay arrived? They don't say, has the body arrived? They'll not address me as with my name anymore. There's no more of my identity. Has the body arrived? They'll say. Next second, isn't that the truth, that I am not this, what I'm identifying myself to be?
The next moment is the body, you said. Yesterday we had this talk by Mr. Dushyant Sridhar. He gave his real life example. A well-known friend, he calls him up from Coimbatore. My father has passed away. He has come from the US to settle things. There is this much of silver and jewelry which is divided among the siblings. There is this property which goes to so and so and so and so. And then they tell Dushyant Sridhar, but there is a book on this, a very voluminous book on the Ramayana. What should we do with this? We thought, Dushyant ji, we will give it to you. That is what happens. And throughout life, we are in this process of identification with the children and the attachment. But the Ramayana voluminous book, nobody wants.
Sad state of life. Very sad. 10th verse, please. असक्तिरणभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्ठोपपत्तिषु असक्तिरणभिष्वङ्गः पुत्रदारगृहादिषु नित्यं च समचित्तत्वम् इष्टानिष्ठोपपत्तिषु. Qualities 13, 14 and 15 are mentioned in the 10th verse. The 13th quality is non-attachment, asakti, and the 14th is anabhishwangaha putra dara grihadishu. Non-infatuation with son, wife and home. Putra dara grihadishu. And the 15th quality, nityam cha samachittatvam ishtanishto papattishu. Constant balance of mind in desirable and undesirable happenings. It brings your spirituality to status quo. You can measure your spiritual status quo by the 15th quality. Status quo means what is your current status, correct? Spiritual status quo. Where am I spiritually standing is measured by 15th quality. Where your mind, is it balanced in desirable and undesirable? There are things undesirable, things that are happening in your life. What is the state of your mind? There are many things desirable happening. What is the state of your mind? But when you are nityam, nityam is constant, samam, samachittam. That samachittam, mind is balanced constantly. That's the challenge. The mind is constantly balanced in ishtha, anishtha, in desirable and non-desirable. Okay, now, before I get there, let's go through the 13th. 13th quality is non-attachment. A similar quality of this Number 28th quality in the 35 qualities of a devotee, it was mentioned there. The quality is, do not develop any attachment, non-attachment, detachment to mind's engagements. Whatever the mind is engaged with, it develops attachment. Correct? Now, the mind develops attachment to anything that it enjoys. Anything that it pleases, the mind follows and it develops attachment. That does not mean you should not have joyful or pleasurable moments, but rather when you are going through joyous and pleasurable moments, make sure you are more alert. Because chances are you will develop attachment faster there. You will not develop attachment to something which causes displeasure. Will it? Mind attachment is what? Ramji, what is mind attachment? Mental attachment means what? Mike, pass your answer, please.
Mental attachment means you enjoy that, you want it more, and you would like to continuously have that. I mean, in its absence, you feel pain, or you have that pain of non-availability of that
Separation.
item of
Separation.
pain
But
of separation.
when mind is attached to something, how do you describe that to a layperson? If mind is attached to it, how do you describe it?
It's a what?
She said you become the very object of attachment.
That is
Ultimately, you become that.
Yeah.
But if you are mentally attached to something, your mind constantly keeps lingering. Your mind starts worshipping. Your mind starts entertaining that thought again and again, again and again. So that when the mind does something on its own accord, because it finds a certain joy with it or in it, you have developed invariably an attachment to it. If I find joy coming to this premise, because this premise gives me some peace and quietude, invariably I could be attached to it.
yes.
Because I find it joy. But if this place is not any more welcoming to me, if this place is very painful, causes displeasure, no happiness, I would not want to associate with this place. Because I don't find that joy. That's how the mind behaves. I'm only saying how the mind attachment is. Whatever gives you joy, you have developed attachment to. But that does not mean you should not go through moments of joy or pleasure. What it means is, when you're going through these joyous moments in life, remember yourself to be extra cautious. Careful, because you will develop attachment. You may ask me, I'll ask somebody else. You may ask me, why should I not develop attachment? Who can ask me that question? I'll have to ask you, Hina, only. What happens if I develop attachment, Hina?
It's short-lived, it's temporary, and then you have a painful moment when it's not there.
So in effect, attachment, it is said, any attachment causes enormous pain. But people, in spite of the pain, they don't drop the object of attachment. That's the problem. It can be enormously painful, but they're not dropping. Why? They don't have the maturity to be away from it. So with it, there's a problem. Without it also, there's a problem. I can be without it, but no, I can't be because I'm dependent on it. So it's not recommended to develop any attachment, ma. Right? But sadly, that lack of awareness, we have developed an attachment. So a jnani goes about with a spirit of non-attachment. Because of his establishment in the higher wisdom, he is non-attached to anything and everything. The next, the 14th quality, anabhishvangha putradara gruhadishu. Non-infatuation with son, wife, home, etc. Non-infatuation means, I'm missing Pridima. Pridima, are you there? She's not there. I thought I saw Ravi Shankarji. He was there, no? Oh, Raviji is there. Raviji, can you please ask Pritima and tell me what does the word infatuation mean? I don't want from you, I want to hear from Pritima. I hope you are there. Huh? No. I'm not sure. அதெல்லாம் போய் வந்துட்டாங்க. Infatuation means what? Why fatal? Why are you talking of fatal attraction? Attraction leads to fatality. Infatuation is an intense attraction. Superficial? Oh, infatuation doesn't mean superficial. Infatuation means is obsessive. You get carried away with it, obsessed.
The intense but short-lived passion or admiration for someone or something.
Intense
but
short-lived.
Sun also cannot be short-lived as
Long-lived other. Lifelong attached to.
but short-lived passion or admiration for someone or something.
Sir, we will talk our known language, sir. Non-infatuation means detachment. That's all. I don't have that infatuation. I don't have that obsession. I don't have that longing or that wrong identification. When I don't have that, means I'm detached. What it means is detachment to son, wife, home. In fact, it should be wife, son, home. That should be the order. Detachment to these three suggests there is no possessiveness. It does not mean you should not have a family. It does not mean you don't have a home, but it just that you live a life of non-possessive attitude to having had the possessions. So dispossessive attitude. So detachment to, firstly, what is the philosophical parlance to wife? Wife symbolizes something that you are wedded to. Contacting something is called a wife. Wife is something that I am contacted, something that I am wedded. So I can be wedded to an art, I can be wedded to a literature, I can be wedded to my ashram, philosophically, or I am wedded to my wife, literally. That I am contacted, I am married. So wife symbolizes all bondages that you are wedded to. You are wedded to business. Wedded to means he is already all the time caught up permanently there. I can be wedded to my ashram. I can be wedded to my work or art or whatever. Now next, what comes out of it is a son. The product of your relationship with wife is a son. So when you're wedded to art, what comes out of it? Painting or sculpture, art. If you're wedded to art, what comes out of it is painting or sculpture. Product of your being wedded to art. If you're wedded, ART, art, any art. If you're wedded to literature, you will produce books and publications. If you are wedded to an ashram, you will have followings and disciples. It's a byproduct of what you are wedded to. If you are wedded to your business, you will get power and name and access to clubs. Oh, I am a member of that club. Prime Minister's club, President's club, Sailors club, this club, that club. Why? Because I am wedded to my business. Out of that, I've got power, I've got wealth, I've got status. These are all byproducts of my being wedded to business. So non-infatuation to wife and son. That which you're wedded to and that which is born out of it. In fact, non-attachment to anything that you come in contact with. So non-infatuation to home. Home is something which is illa. Close to heart illa. Sir, closer than, now I'll tell Amma, wait, that your home is closer to your heart than her. Don't separating all this kind of poetry session illenga. There's philosophical session. Don't separate the two. In fact, there are two things here. Wife and son and home are three separate things. That's what you have done, made one big meal out of it. But separate happen no. What does home symbolize? Prakashi, what does home symbolize, sir? When you say home, what does it mean?
Where you go to stay, finally.
Correct, sir. We all stay there only. But what is the difference between home and wife, sir? Don't say both are same, huh? Is there a difference between wife and home?
Finally, it becomes the same.
I know you will say that. Both are the same, you will say that. But what is, sir, wife and son are in one category, home is another category. What is the category here? Home consists of things, non-living things, lifeless things, inanimate objects, lifeless objects. It could be your furniture and fittings. It could be a well-decorated, it could be a manicured garden. It could be everything that you have very dearly polished and varnished and painted and decorated, decked up. All that is inanimate objects. So, non-infatuation to wife and son. Wife and son means living beings. Home represents objects. So, this jnani is totally dispassionate to the things and beings of the world. In one statement, you can say that. But they are using a philosophical language to convey a deeper meaning so that you apply and think. Chumma, one statement they say, you will say, take it for granted. Oh, wife, I am wedded to it. Then there's a product of it. I should be detached to what I'm wedded to. I must be detached to what is a product of it also. Now, the problem is I'm detached to the what I'm wedded, but I'm terribly attached to the product. I'm terribly attached to my child. I'm detached to the what I'm wedded to. Wives means the same quality applies to wife, must be detached to husband also. Huh? Wife doesn't mean only from that side to this side, that side also. Symbolic only. Ramji. She is saying comfortably, oh, Ramji is attached to me, I am very detached. Anything that you contact. So what is the message? The message here is drop your slavish dependence. Your slavish dependence in the relationship with objects and beings. Drop your slavish dependence. While you're relating with the objects and beings. It does not mean you don't have a home. It does not mean you don't have a wife. It does not mean you don't have a son. Don't take it literally. It's to be taken with your contact with anything. It does not mean you don't contact. What it means is you don't get stuck to it. So develop a dispossessive attitude. Dispossessive attitude is not dispossession. Dispossessive attitude is not చెప్పండి సార్ మీరు చెప్పండి మీ పేరెంట్ సార్ శేషగిరిరావు గారు డిస్పొజెషన్ సో dispossessive attitude is not dispossession. అది two separate things. అర్థమవుతుంది కదా. Dispossessive attitude is different. Dispossessive attitude is detachment. Dispossessive attitude does not mean dispossession. You can have it and yet remain unattached. Perfect. But in the spiritual field, people will only respect you for your dispossession. Nobody cares about your dispossessive attitude. People will only respect you for your dispossession, not your dispossessive attitude. Sad state of spirituality. And yet, spirituality is not possessing, is possessing and yet being dispossessive. But yet, the world will only measure you with your dispossession, not your dispossessive attitude. So, all those who are being given a recognition may not truly deserve it. Just by merely dispossessing does not mean you have dispossessive attitude. Just because I don't have money in my life does not mean I have detached to money. Does it mean that? Just because I keep distance from money doesn't mean I'm detached to money. Example, I'm saying. I may be resourceful, but I may be totally detached to it. People will not recognize that. Because you don't have the eye to evaluate me, no? It's easier to evaluate me grossly. It is difficult to evaluate me subtly. You must have the eye to look at it. People don't have the ability to evaluate you, and spirituality is dispossessive attitude, not dispossession. It's easy to practice dispossession. It's very difficult to practice dispossessive attitude. Very difficult. I'm not saying impossible, but it's very difficult. So it's important that you understand detachment is only to drop your slavish dependence. So you may be relating with them, but you're not dependent on them. So spirituality is not walking away from grihastha life, saying that I will renounce my wife, son, and home to become a sannyasi. Because sannyasi is one what? He has dropped all this and walked away. That is more respected than one who is in the grihastha and practicing these values. Oh, you are grihastha, is it? You don't belong to tradition. You will be branded as non-traditional. But the moment you put on a robe, you can't live with your family, you can't live with comforts, you can't live at your own home. You will have to be at the mercy of the graciousness of others. That is regarded as a spiritual man. You see that? If I were to present a grihastha to you on one side, if I were to present a sannyasi to you, you will automatically give sannyasi a blanket approval. But a grihastha you will not approve. This is what I mean. And what has a grihastha done? Sorry, a sannyasi done? A sannyasi he doesn't have the possession of wife, son, or home. A grihastha is having a wife, son, and a home, but he is dispossessive attitude. A sannyasi has given away, may not have, I'm not saying does not, may not have that dispossessive attitude, but the fact that he has given up, you will give that approval status of him being spiritual. This is the sad reality of the world today. So either you fall a prey to what the world says is right or what the reality is. Inwardly, you know what is the right value you give. So a jnani, with all the wisdom, he continues to establish a relationship, but he uses it as a pole vaulter uses the pole. He uses the family to evolve. Like this morning, I was reading the Swami Ramatirtha's section, one of the chapters, lectures he was giving to Americans. He was talking in 1902. He said, is marriage a hindrance for your spiritual growth? There is nothing that's happening. Huh? Don't read in between lines. I just happened to, in fact, yesterday Srinivas ji was asking, are you there, SR? He said, huh? He's not there. He said he couldn't come because not for some reason. He wanted some reference of consciousness in the Swami Ramatirtha's work. So I was going through the 7 volumes, chapter by chapter. I was going through all the thing, and then there was this lecture that he gave to Americans. Is marriage a hindrance for your spiritual growth? Huh? Who sorry? No, it's not, but he said no, marriage is not, it is you use it for your growth. Is how you deal with it, how you relate with it. So it just happened, I'm just connecting the two dots of what this quality is of being detached to wife, son, and home.
This possessive attitude which you said,
Mhm.
so
Hold on to it, sir, please. Don't let go yet.
It's possessive.
The volume kami pannu idu. This red color one.
yeah, this particular verse, there's a beautiful poem of Khalil Gibran, the Lebanese poet.
Yeah.
You know, only the last paragraph I will read. You are the bows from which your children, as living arrows, are sent forth. The archer sees the mark upon the path of the infinite, and he bends you with his might, that his arrows may go swift and far. Let your bending in the archer's hand be for gladness, for even as he loves the arrow that flies, so he loves also the bow that is stable.
Source of this poem?
This is Khalil Gibran. This is beautiful collection of his poems in a book called The Prophet. In fact, this poem starts by saying, your children are not your children. They are the sons and daughters of life's yearning for itself.
Correct.
They come through you, but not from
for
you.
Yeah, from.
And though they are with you, they do not belong to you.
Amazing. Very valuable collection, The Prophet. Get a hold of it. And one of the best of his is on giving. Should listen to that section on giving.
Our own poet Gulzar, in the context of home, he says, Musafir hu yaro, na ghar hai na tikana, mujhe chalte jana hai, bas chalte hi jana hai. And then in one line he says, Hawa ke paron par mera ashiyana. My home exists on the wings of the breeze because I am a traveler and not the physical home. My home exists on the wings of the breeze.
Your favorite song is it? But let's not get into it. మీరు పాడతారా సార్? పాడతారు కదా మీరు? Not now. Okay. Please note, next week we would not be having a satsang because I am traveling. So you will be kept informed of the next satsang. Saturday and Sunday both will be not having satsang. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.